When it comes to elected officials, who do you think is the most out of touch with reality right now? I'm kind of torn between Gavin Newsom, always ranks pretty high on my list. Karen Bass telling Los Angeles to hold my beer. Tim Walz, who actually absolutely gets totally slammed by Nancy Mace and Byron Donalds, but I'm going to save that for another video.
Are you calling for ICE agents to be brought to a tribunal under the threat of death by comparing them to the Gestapo?
I'm going to be working on that later on. So stick with me here, folks. Subscribe if you haven't already. If you have, make sure you still are, because if not, you may not ever see my channel again. But ladies and gentlemen, Elizabeth Warren is going to take the cake today. And of all of these elected officials, these politicians, these career criminals, I feel like there is a consistency amongst them, which is they love to take your money. But would someone please tell, and I'm just reading the post here, Pocahontas, that the bill to reopen the government is a clean funding bill. There is nothing to negotiate. Radical Democrats like her want to restore free healthcare benefits to illegals, which isn't going to happen. Instead, just pay our workers and reopen the government.
Real Americans are hurting, and it is so frustrating to us, Cheryl, because the contrast here is so clear. Remember, it was over a month ago that the House did our job, and we passed a clean continuing resolution, a totally nonpartisan, 24-page, very simple piece of legislation to just keep the lights on so that Congress could continue to do the work of appropriating the funds for the annual budget, and also for navigating all the rest of the issues we have on the table throughout the end of the year. The Democrats voted it down. They've done it now almost a dozen times, as you said, because they're playing partisan games. They filed a counter-proposal. Let's not let anybody forget what they filed as their counter-offer. Their CR is not a clean one, it's a dirty one, because they want to spend $1.5 trillion new dollars on all sorts of wasteful programs, including $200 billion to fund health care benefits on the backs of American taxpayers for illegal aliens. They want to give $500 million back to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to prop up leftist news organizations. And they want to spend billions of dollars overseas on all sorts of extraneous, crazy kinds of programs. They know we're not going to do that. It's not a serious proposal. This is the first time in history that any party has chosen to shut the government down over a clean CR. They're playing a game, and it's very simple. Here's the reason why. Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries, the two leaders in both chambers for the Democrat side, are afraid of their far left flank. They're afraid they're going to get a challenge in New York because Marxism is all the rage, and they're going to lose their seats. So they're putting up a fight. It makes no sense, and real people are getting hurt.
They love taking your money. Granted, they're doing it through taxes, and they're trying to funnel it through these NGOs and through these bill proposals and through a government shutdown to give it away, not benefit us, actually hurts and harms us in the long run. And to see this story here actually really kind of blows my mind. To think that after the No King's Day rallies, if you want to call them rallies, they were really small, tiny little get-togethers, blown out of proportion and amplified by fake news. And whether or not you believe the crowd size in Boston really doesn't amount to a hill of beans when you think about it. But the same folks out there who love to talk shit, who love to hate, who love to withhold any form of credit and accolade for President Trump, and instead choose to lie and make up stories and gaslight and continuously feed into this propagandized, rhetoricized bullshit that the left needs, like Superman needs sunlight. I only say that because it's pretty sunny right here where I'm standing, and it feels really good. It feels really good. And I think our temps are actually going to drop down into like the 60s at night. And tonight we're actually going to fire up the fire pit. So I'm looking forward to that. So we've got cool nights and mornings, still pretty hot days. And this is absolute peak autumn Florida weather, or fall. I don't know if you go autumn or fall, but it just feels good. But these folks, like, I try to bring you guys truth and information, value, resources, help, aid, assistance. I try to save you money. I was trying to help you guys make some money, but if we could at least save some money, that's a plus, right? And then for the folks who wanted to make some money, well, you know, that's a whole different conversation we can have. But as far as saving money, the left is presenting this idea that the shutdown is the Republicans' fault, when we know for a fact that it's not. Now we have insider intel that the Democrats, obviously Chuck Schumer, which we've been talking about this entire time, the Schumer shutdown, has revealed that that is true, that they've been lying this entire time, and now they're afraid to face the guillotine.
Nonpartisan CR, they're going to get hammered. Another insider said in that same story, quote, "We would have enough votes to reopen the government if people were not terrified of getting the guillotine." Okay? They mean it metaphorically, but in a political sense, that's exactly what they're concerned about.
Tim Walz is afraid of the Gestapo. Schumer and the rest of the Democrats are afraid of the guillotine.
Everyone is before the due process.
What don't you understand about yes or no?
Now think about the fact that we're just laying out here. These are simple facts. We come out here every morning and remind the American people of what's going on. Do not let them distract you from the facts. The American people would have an open government if Democrats were not terrified of their radical base. That is the headline. Every single one of you should write that.
And this just underscores Mike Johnson's accusations that Democrats prioritize appeasing their radical base over governance, echoing reports of internal party rifts amid failed Senate votes and escalating economic pressures like expiring food assistance. The reaction from the public should come as no surprise. And folks are predicting that the Democratic capitulation as shutdown impacts such as delayed federal payments disproportionately affects their voter base will potentially force a resolution soon.
And that's the ugly truth. The Democrats are not governing in good faith. They're covering their own tail. They're out here decrying the so-called forthcoming health care crisis, they say. It's the one that they themselves created. The Democrats created Obamacare. They're the ones that created a subsidy with an expiration date. They're the ones that did all of this. Republicans are trying to fix it. And they're trying to blame Republicans for the crisis they themselves created. They cry foul when we won't bail them out of their own shutdown. I don't have anything to offer, as I've explained. I don't have any partisan priority I can pull off of the CR to make it more palatable for them. There's nothing to negotiate. They just have to do what they've always done in the past, that they did 13 times during the Biden administration, and they did as recently as March of this year, to open the government so that people can get their services and their paychecks.
Don't get me started. Don't get me started. So anyway, so here we are, folks. Mainstream media, Democrats, uber far left liberals, Gavin Newsom, of course. There's folks out there specifically, particularly, who like to stir the pot. They like to stir that pot. And I see him stirring this pot all the damn time on X. And I see him stirring the pot on YouTube. And I see him stirring the pot, not so much in public because of where we live. Everybody here is pretty based. But in other clips online, TikTok and things like that, I see him stirring the pot. And it's like, hang on 1 second. It is your party that is stealing and wasting your money while you're sitting here trying to present some argument against President Trump and his ballroom renovations to the East Wing that literally costs $0 out of taxpayers' pockets. Make that make sense. Explain to me how you could have any form of rational, logical argument against this while still steadily pushing for wasteful government spending on your part, a socialist country and government for which they're pushing for in the far, corners of the country, New York and California,
Why will a new office building for California lawmakers cost as much as an NFL stadium? That's a question we've been asking California's legislative leaders overseeing the Capitol Annex project. Live Copter 3 flew over, getting this exclusive look at the progress crews have made. The $1.1 billion project is supposed to cover costs for the office building, parking garage, and a new visitor center.
But it will also include private hallways for lawmakers that allow them to avoid the public and avoid us, the media.
This new office building in Sacramento is going to be one of the most expensive buildings in the United States. And yes, California taxpayers are footing the bill. Even though the lawsuits against it have been over, the California legislature, which is in charge of it, continues to keep details in the dark.
Steel beams are up and construction is underway on the Capitol Annex project. The $1.1 billion construction and counting will eventually house the offices of lawmakers, the governor, and lieutenant governor. It'll cost about as much as Levi's Stadium in Santa Clara and more than the Golden One Center in Sacramento. But we still don't know why or how the money is being spent.
And these Capitol renovations, which I'm glad I don't live in this state, costs projected will hit California taxpayers for $1.1 billion. If you know how Democrats spend money, if you know how Gavin Newsom spends money, if you look at how Jerome Powell just lost all that money in the Federal Reserve, if you look at Barack Obama's presidential library and that waste of money, the projected cost is $1.1 billion. You know it's going to be at least double that. And at $1.1 billion, it is 4 times more than the privately funded White House ballroom, which costs taxpayers nothing.
Motion passes.
The legislature's Joint Rules Committee overseeing the project still won't give a public update, even though lawsuits against it have been over for 6 months. No one with Joint Rules would do an interview with us on Monday, but officials confirmed there are now no plans to construct the visitor center on the west side of the historic Capitol. But even without that part, they said the budget for the project overall won't change.
Does that make sense to you?
No, it doesn't.
Dick Cowan is the ex-chairman of the Historic State Capitol Commission and is part of the group that sued over the project.
Among the many questions we have is, what's the project going to cost now? Has it continued to rise as it did over the last years? When will the project be complete? They have all that information, probably in a monthly report they receive from the builders, the designers, and the management team.
But information has been tough to get. As we reported last year, more than 2,000 people involved in the project signed non-disclosure agreements, legally requiring some lawmakers, government officials, and others to keep quiet about what's going on. The cost estimate has more than doubled since 2018, and the NDAs are still in place.
I think this building is already a tremendous strain on taxpayers. And at the end of the day, it's been gone about in a way that has lacked transparency at every step of the way.
The main way we're able to get information lately is through leaks. The latest, the new building will have private hallways for lawmakers, allowing them to avoid the public and media after they debate and vote in hearing rooms. Multiple sources told KCRA3 the leader of the state Senate, Mike McGuire, confirmed this to a room full of lobbyists earlier this month. He would not do an interview, but confirmed this in a statement. He called the hallways, quote, safe corridors, claiming they have them now in their temporary office building. He said they are, quote, designed to help ensure the safety and security of lawmakers, which is even more important today, given the events that unfolded on January 6th at our nation's Capitol building and the active threats public officials continue to face.
I think this is the height of hypocrisy. You are using taxpayer dollars to build a taxpayer-funded facility, and yet you are going to design it in a way that shields you from the public, and shields you from accountability.
Now, with those private hallways for lawmakers, we've asked for diagrams, documents, anything that can shine a little more light onto what exactly that entails. We are still waiting to hear back. Project leaders say they do plan to give a public update at some point this year. Reporting at the state capitol, Ashley Zavala, KCRA3 News.
Officials also saying that the project update will include a new estimated completion date. Also, no information on added costs because of the lawsuit that delayed the construction.
Yeah, folks, wild, crazy, insane.
We started the process, and we have it concluded, and it's actually starting right behind us. And If you look, this is really a knockout panel. Should I show you? I guess maybe you start seeing that. So, I don't really want you to walk on there, but you can take a look if you want. There it is, because we took out all the strength from underneath that collapse. We collapsed it over the next few days. It's going to be demolished. Everything out there is coming down, and we're replacing it with one of the most beautiful ballrooms that you've ever seen.
President Trump greeting supporters at an RNC fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago, showing us the main ballroom at his private club and sharing new details about the one he plans to build at the White House.
We are going to make and build a ballroom, which they've wanted for probably 100 years at the White House. And it'll be a world-class, beautiful ballroom.
A ballroom that could cost millions of dollars. He says he will pay for it himself. You will fund it.
Yeah. I'm not going to ask the government for money. I'll fund it, and I'm sure we'll have some donations to it.
We're actually getting ready here. Michelle's about to vacuum, and we're actually going to have some friends over later and talk to them about their YouTube channels. Not only help them save money, but help them make some more money. And she's even got the fireplace going. Virtual fireplace. And this out here is ready. I gotta take the cover off and get this water out of here. I need to put something on top of it to like, not level it out, but maybe like put like a slope on it so that it doesn't collect water. But yeah, we're gonna spend some time out here chatting it up. Maybe having a glass of wine or 2 fingers of bourbon with some friends.
Then where does this end? How do you see the off-ramp happening?
Well, would someone please tell, and I'm just reading the post here, Pocahontas, that the bill to reopen the government is a clean funding bill. There is nothing to negotiate. Radical Democrats like her want to restore free healthcare benefits to illegals, which isn't going to happen. Instead, just pay our workers and reopen the government.
I think it ends when Donald Trump tells the Republicans, okay, sit down now and negotiate.
And basically, folks, they're robbing you blind. They're stealing from you, or at least they're attempting and trying to, pushing for this. And then I see this.
I, Roberta McCoy, given faith and stand in unity with the vision of perfecting church of sowing this seed of $1,000 plus $235 and receiving the blessings to come to all that participated.
Now that's only $1,200.
Yes.
Y'all not listening to what I'm saying. If you have 1,000 plus 1,000.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna work on the other 800.
Well, that ain't what I asked you to do.
And a church, of all places, you would think would be safe and holy, shaming congregation members for not making the $2,000 donation. What economy do you live in? What world do you live in? What church do you go to? What is your life like where the minimum donation is $2,000? That doesn't sound like a donation. It sounds like a fee. Sounds like a bill. Y'all got bills to pay? Y'all got enough left over to give the church $2,000? I ain't mad at you. I'm just saying, like, this seems kind of backwards. But like I said, folks, I want to save you money. And our Friends chapter are helping out folks with that every single day.
And the reality is, every decision you make comes with trade-offs. You need to understand that reviewing your healthcare options means you will no longer be competitive if your plan, doctors, coverage, and or prescriptions change. If staying competitive is extremely important to you, you can choose to get help to address any possible problems plaguing you. Alas, call our friends at Chapter, and they can assist you in solving the most common problem when it comes to Medicare. With over 20,000 plans available, navigating the Medicare landscape can feel overwhelming, to say the least. That's why Chapter's top advisors are here to simplify the process, ensuring you find the plan that fits your needs quickly, easily, and without the stress. Yesterday marked the official kickoff of the annual enrollment period, AEP, and let me tell you, the phones at Chapter have been ringing off the hook. So many of you have already reached out, and the response has been incredible. In just one day, countless folks just like you have been helped tremendously through a quick, simple, easy, and free phone call. Chapter's team of licensed advisors is working tirelessly to guide you through the maze of Medicare options, ensuring you're enrolled in a plan that maximizes your coverage and minimizes your costs. We've been talking about this opportunity since the spring, and now is the time to act. The AEP is your chance to review and update your Medicare coverage, and with Chapter's guidance, you can make informed decisions with confidence. Whether you're looking to switch plans, adjust your prescription coverage, or explore new options, Chapter's advisors are ready to help you every step of the way. Don't wait. Call Chapter now at 270-467-2426 and tell them Kevin sent you. Take advantage of this amazing opportunity to secure the Medicare plan that's right for you. With Chapter, you're not just choosing a plan, you're choosing peace of mind. Call today. Again, that number is 270-467-2426 and see why so many others are already singing Chapter's praises.